Okay. All right, today we'll learn about the bird offering. Bird offering. Sometimes for some of the sacrifices you have to bring a bird. There were two types of birds offerings. Bird offerings. There was what's called for a chatas, a sin offering, and also a total offering on an Olah. One of the examples of the Olah is sometimes there's people for certain crimes that a person couldn't. It was called Olah Yored. That a person didn't have enough money to bring an expensive offering, so he could bring a bird. And if he didn't have enough money for birds, he could bring meal. You could bring flour offerings. But here, let's talk about the bird offerings. When did you make the bird offerings? And so this is what's called Olah Ta'of and Chata Ta'of. There's a bird offering that's sometimes brought, what's called an Olah, which means it's burned up totally on the altar. And there's an offering which is called a Chatat. And we're not going to talk about that here today. We're talking about the Olah. The Chatat is a bit different. It's parts of it are sacrificed. Parts are eaten. It's also eaten, the Chatat offering. Okay, so we'll learn the Olah oath, the oath which is burned totally on the altar. Now, why are we learning all these details? First of all, very soon there's going to be the third temple. I hope it is. It's come down from heaven right now as we're speaking, but it's going to come for sure. So we should know what's going on. Also to understand what God is concerned about. I mean, these things are not really normal in any sort of a way. Normal people don't care about, where the blood of the bird that you slaughtered on the altar. What does God need birds for? This is not human. This is human values. These are godly values. So here we go. Imina of Olah. If a person brings from a bird, he brings korbono, his sacrifice, Lashem. Fikriv mina torim o mi bnei Yonah. You can bring from what's birds called torim or bnei Yonah. There's sort of different opinions of what's going on. Some say that these are two different types of birds. Torim are birds that are more migrant. That's like pigeons. And bnei Yonah are birds that are called doves. And they're more stable in one place. I saw that written in one. In any case, bnei Yonah implies that it's the younger ones of this type. And when it says Torim means the older one of this type. There's other opinions that say no, that it means the same thing. It's talking about pigeons, and that the only difference is with age. With age. But if you see, I live in Israel, you see it's very common. I don't know if there's other places. I don't remember there being in America, things like this, but maybe I wasn't very perceptive. There's pigeons. Pigeons are found everywhere. You have pigeons in New York and pigeons all over. The pigeons are big. They dirty up every place, pigeons. And pigeons fly around, in big whole flocks of pigeons. They fly around. And then there's doves. Doves are much more delicate. And I don't see them flying around in big groups. They're sort of less mobile, whatever. Okay, however you want to say it, Torim are older ones and Bnei Yonah are younger ones. And we'll see how how young they are and how old they are. We'll see. It says you can't bring from any type of bird you want. You can't bring sparrows or chickens or any other bees, even though they're all kosher. Not all birds are kosher, but birds that are kosher. Generally speaking, birds that we'll learn in Parshat Shmini, which birds are kosher, which birds are not kosher. But generally speaking, birds of prey are not kosher. And also birds that are scavengers, like crows and vultures and things like that, they're not. But by birds, it's more what's called a masora. What the previous generation ate, you can eat. If you have a new bird, somebody says you can eat, and it's the previous generations didn't eat it. You can't eat it. So okay. In case this is from the Torim, from pigeons, or from older pigeons, or from younger doves. Let's say Not from every bird. Lafi, this is Rashi. Lafi, because it says tamim. It has to. Now, all the other offerings, it says that they have to be pure, they have to be unblemished, and it has to be male. Male. There's a lot of offerings that are also female, but in any case, it's a big difference in the other offerings. If you bring a cow or a sheep or a goat, some offerings are male and some are female. Some can be either one. But the gender of the offerings is important. And also the offerings have to be what's called tamim. They can't have a hole in the lungs. They can't have a hole in the brain. Tamot v'zachros b'behema. But there is no tamot v'zachros ba'of. It says in the bird, it doesn't make any difference. The bird can have a hole in its lung and it still is kosher. A bird can have an eye missing or something like that. Or if there's something wrong with the eye, or it still is kosher. And also the same thing, it doesn't make any difference if it's a male or a female bird. Makes no difference. But this thing about you can take a blemished bird, a bird that's not kosher, that has a hole in some place that would make it not edible, that applies to only a certain degree. If it's missing a whole limb, then it says you can't bring it. Because the Torah says, the bird has to be a complete bird. Has to be a complete bird. This bird is not eaten. So because it's not eaten, it doesn't necessarily have to be it can be a bird that even has a hole in one of its inner limbs that makes it unedible. The chatat bird, this is called the chatat, is eaten. So there could be a difference. Oh, I don't know. I didn't learn the laws of the chatat yet. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow. We'll see. Torim, Rashi says big birds, not small ones. Bnei Yonah, that's small birds. Mina Torim Bnei Yonah. This means that as soon as they start the feathers start to get silver golden colored, then that the shebezehu pasul. This is not good. This is too big for the Bnei Yonah. It's too big for the younger birds, and it's too small for the older birds. So it has to be that either the birds are have their total color in them, or they're just like little small, small chicks. Small chicks are good. That's by the Yonah. And by the Tor, full grown are good, but in the middle is not good. The Kohen, yes, Chinese enjoy. I was in China. Chinese enjoy eating young pigeons. Chinese enjoy almost everything. Almost everything. I think they would eat me also if it wasn't forbidden, or if somebody wouldn't complain. Chinese eat everything. I was in the Chinese market over there, and they had this thing about Wuhan and all that stuff. They eat anything that moves, anything that has any sort of motion whatsoever. Potentially anyway. Okay, let's go. The Kohen should first of all sacrifice it to the altar, and then he malaket rosho. He brings it close to the altar, and he cuts. He malaket rosho. He cuts off the head. And he sacrifices it on the altar. V'nimsa damo, and he squeezes out the blood. Obviously, he has to squeeze out the blood first. This is not the order that it happens, because if he burns it up, how can he squeeze out the blood? On the wall of the altar. Okay, we had a picture of the altar over here. Instead of running around and trying to find the pictures, let's go back to this picture we had over here. Was it over here? No. Let's Excuse me, I'm just looking for this picture over here with the worked out. Okay, here we go. Here we have our altar. You have a picture, huh? There it is. Good. There we have the altar. Oh, yes, make this bigger. Make this bigger. Excuse me. There. Okay. Here we have our altar. Picture the altar, right? Yes. And here we have what's called the chut. This separates from the top of the altar and the bottom of the altar. The Olah ta'of, you take the bird and you squeeze it out over here on the top. Squeeze it out, squeeze out the blood. Where's it slaughtered? This is how the altar looks if you're looking from the, like from the holy, from the where the coin is. But really, when you come into the holy temple, it's the other way around. But there's no way that we can switch this picture over here. So maybe, excuse me. Here we go. It's also the same thing. Same thing. When you come into the holy temple, this whole thing is reversed. The ramp is down this way, not this way. You have to turn the whole thing around. So we're looking at the western face. The eastern face is over here when you come in. Anyway, the Kohen stands over there on the eastern part, and he kills the animal. How does he kill the animal? How does he kill the animal? He kills it with his finger, with his thumb. He holds onto the bird, and he inserts his thumb into the back of the neck of the bird, and then he cuts the neck bone, and he goes and then with his, and he has to cut then the both the windpipe and the food pipe of this bird. And then after that, he removes the whole head, and he's going to burn the head and the body separately. So let's go. Here we go. One minute. Oh. All right, so that's what it says. So he brings it to the altar, the altar, and he cuts up malak at rosho. He does malika on the head, like I said. So let's see what Rashi says. Higrivo afilu prida achat yavi. He can even bring one. Usually they come in pairs. That's how they're sold in pairs. But he can bring one, and the coin, and he malika is the opposite of shchita. What does it mean? First of all, he doesn't do it with a vessel. He does it with his finger. Technically, you could slaughter a bird with your fingernail. You could do it if the fingernail was straight and it was smooth and it was long enough, it was wide enough, and you went back and forth with it. You could do it. Ella, the Kohen, it says the Kohen himself, he slaughters. This is unusual. Slaughtering is usually always done with some sort of an instrument. And it has to be done from the front of the neck. Regular slaughtering in Judaism, it has to be done from the front of the neck of the animal. It's forbidden to cut the neck bone of the animal. It's forbidden to cut the neck bone of the animal. Unless, of course, the animal's already dead. If you already succeeded in slaughtering it successfully. But if you cut the neck bone from the back, then the animal is no good. No good. But in this case, in the Holy Temple, if it's the Olah offering of the oath of the bird, then if you slaughter it from the front, it's not good. No good. You have to slaughter from the back of the neck. You cut through with the fingernail mimula orif, on the back of the neck. Technical problems. Okay. On the back of the neck, v'chotech mafreket, and you cut the spine, the back of the neck. In other words, the back of the neck bone. Ad shemigila simonim, until you get to the simonim, that's the food pipe and the windpipe, and you cut them. Then nimtza damo, and then you press out the blood. Nimtza, this is the language of mitzapayim. Ephes hametz means to squeeze the blood. You squeeze the bird on the side of the altar where he's standing. Umalak maktir, and he kills the animal, and he burns it up, and then he squeezes out the blood. Says Rashi, that can't be possible. Efshalom can. Mechashu maktir, if he's already burnt the bird up. Then he squeezes out the blood. Obviously, he can. Burning it up, that takes out all the blood. Elamaktar, first of all, it means what it says. Maktir means. What is it? Maktir means he takes the head alone, and he throws that on the fire on the altar, and the body has to be done separately. That's after he squeezes the blood out. Also, simply, and Peshuta, the simple meaning is that the sentence is simply not to be read in the order that it appears. And the things are not done in the order that they appear in the sentence. Malak viktir, you slaughter the bird, and then you burn it up. And before you burn it up, you have to squeeze out the blood on the altar. In other words, you squeeze it out after it's. Now he's standing at the time when he does all this. He's standing on the far side. I don't remember. Why don't I have a picture of this over here? 1 minute. No, I don't have a picture. Do I have a picture? No, I don't. Oh, here's sort of a picture. Here's sort of a picture of this. I don't know if this is helpful or if it's just more confusing, but nevertheless, if I succeed, it's good. Here we have the altar. Here's a picture of the altar. And when you come into the holy temple, this is the side that you see. And the Kohen, he stands over here. It says on the southeast side. And he kills the animal, squeezes out the blood over here. And we'll see then he's going to cut the bird open, and he's going to throw the intestines and things like that he doesn't eat. He's going to throw them over here. The intestines, those are the things he doesn't burn up. And then he goes back over to the ramp over here, right? And he burns the animal up. So first of all, he slaughters the bird. Then he throws the head over here and burns it. Then maybe he's even standing there, he throws the head. And then he presses it, and he goes up and burns the rest of the bird. So let's see. Umasir at murato, he removes the crop, the whatever it's called in the bird. There's this like sort of stomach where it keeps its food. So he removes it. According to some opinions, he removes it with a knife. He cuts it out, with the feathers that are around it. And he throws it next to the altar, Kedma, on the east side, El Makom Hadeshen. Some say that it means that he throws it at the foot of the ramp where he's going up. That's where he throws the stomach and the other parts where he's where the other say parts of the intestines, the disgusting parts of the animal, that he throws them. In any case, he throws them on the ground. He doesn't burn them up. There's two different means we're going to see about the notzata. Notzata means something disgusting, and notzata means with the feathers. So we'll see. It says murata. He removes its murata. What's murata? Murata is the place where there is excrement, and this is what's called the zephek. The zephek, and he removes it with the notzata. Here it says the word notzata. Word notzata usually means feathers, but here it means with the bnei me'aya, with all the rest of the intestines. Notza is the language that thinks something disgusting. Like it says natsu ben Oz. He brings sentences from the Torah to show natsu means. This is what Abba Yossi ben Hanan says, where he said, Notel et ha korbaton, that he takes out the crop of the animal with the intestines along with it. That's what Rabbi Yossi ben Hanan says, but the rabbis say, Koder saviv azefek. He takes a knife with a sakin and he cuts out from the animal and from the front of the animal, like from the stomach, right under the breast of the animal, he makes some sort of like a little hole, and he takes out the crop with the feathers of course on the outside, on the skin of the bird. If you take with an animal, a behemoth, let's say a cow, a sheep, if you make an Olah, that's Olah means it's in the end it's burned up totally on the altar. That that it only eats from its the feeding trough. It says Yikriva Karayim Yerchatz B'mayim. By the animals, that usually cows and those things, they eat from, they're fed grains. So in those cases, it says that you wash out the intestines, you squeeze the intestines out, you wash them out so that they haven't got any excrement, and you offer them up on the altar. With a bird, shenazun mina gezel, that it eats from things that it steals, pecks around, eats little bugs and things like that. And it says, you have to throw away the intestines, because the intestines ate from things that were not it, that didn't belong to it. It ate from other people's and from. And we have to throw all this intestines and the unwanted parts of the bird on the east side of the kevish. Now it says that there was a miracle over there, because he used to throw all of the unwanted and things over there, and it would somehow or other sink into the ground. It wouldn't become a big pile. Anyway, al makom adeshin, it was the same place where they make trumat adeshin. Trumat adeshin, every morning, they would come in the morning and they would remove the ashes from on the altar, and they would also put them over there on this east side of the altar. So when people would come in the morning, you would see this big pile of the ashes from the nighttime and also all of this other waste. And amazingly, it didn't build up. It would just sink out to the ground. That's what it says every morning. And also there was another thing they threw over there, the Dishun Mizbeach HaPnimi, in the inner altar. Remember that? We learned that the golden altar, they offered up incense. So there would be ashes there. And also the menorah, there were the wicks that were there, and maybe any soot or anything that was there. All of them, it says, Kulam Nivla'im Sham B'makomon. And all of them get swallowed up on the ground. The ground somehow or other, they sunk into the ground and they were swallowed there into the ground. It never says in anywhere there was anybody that had to clean that big pile which built up. I mean, over the year, right? They were sacrificing every day the big pile of ashes and unwanted parts from the bird. You would think it would build up. It would be an immense hill of stuff, and it wasn't. It would sink into the ground. That was just nivlaim sham b'makomo. They miraculously would be swallowed up in their place. It says the lo haya. This is the Siftei Chachamim. He explains Rashi. The lo haya lichtov ela aladeshin. It says throw him in the place where you have the ashes. But Vadet comes to teach you that the whole thing somehow or other sunk into the ground, and that was all that was left. It was just the place. They would come in the morning, right? And they would come in the morning when they put the dish in there, the ashes, and it would just be empty. There was nobody. Amazing. It would sink into the ground. Okay. Okay, so what have we got so far? The sentences don't come in exactly the proper order. So first of all, you take the bird. He takes the bird and he goes up to this, what's called the soved, this place which is on the side of the altar. There was like a sort of a rim that went around. It was like, I don't know, 1.5 feet wide, and the Kohen would have to walk there. He would stand there. He would slaughter the bird from the back of the neck with his thumbnail, and then he would remove the head of the bird, and he would throw the head of the bird on the fire. Then he would take the rest of the bird and squeeze it out on the top half on the side of the altar, and then he would remove the crop and throw that down right down, I guess, near his feet, the next level down on the floor on the east side where I showed you. And then after that, he would go up on the ramp and he would put salt on the offering, because you have to have salt on all the offerings. He would put salt. He also must have put salt on the head also. He would throw it up on the fire. But before he would do that, before he would throw it up in the fire, the shisaoto, he would separate it b'kanafav with its wings. Lo yavdil, he wouldn't cut it into two, just open it up. V'iktiroto akohen al mizbeach, and he would put it on the altar. Ala itzim, on the wood, asher ala eish, which is on the fire. Olahu, it is a olah, a totally burned offering. Ishei reach nichoach l'Hashem, it is a fire offering, a pleasing spirit to God. Let's see what Rashi says. Ein shisua elabiyad. He has to tear it open with his hand. And also it says in Shimshon, v'yishsa'u kashisa hagadi, that he tore it open like he tore open when Samson fought against the lion. He said he tore the lion open. B'kanafav, says im kanafav. He leaves the wings on and he tears the bird he opens it up from the middle, from the chest, opens it up. But he doesn't have to remove it, doesn't take off the feathers. He burns it together with the feathers. B'kanafav, he says notza mamash, the actual feathers of the bird, he throws them all up. But hello, ein lecha hedyot, is it not so that no human being can smell the smell of burning feathers and not be disgusted? V'lama omar katuv faktir, why does it say that they should burn it up? The aktir oto, why did it say again to burn it up? It already said before. It says the reason is kadei, she has mizbeach, that the altar should be sava umahudar b'karbano shalani, so that the altar should be satisfied and, how do you say, anointed, what's the word? And adorned with the sacrifice of a poor person. What's this mean? A poor person, especially a person, Olah in the Dove, it's called. A person makes a vow, I'm going to bring an offering to the Beit HaMikdash, or he has to bring a certain offering to the Beit HaMikdash. There's certain offerings where poor people, haven't got enough money to bring a cow or a sheep. So what do? They can bring a bird. A bird is, come on, you come with a bird to the Holy Temple, everybody's coming with their cows and things like that. And a bird, how much does a bird cost? It costs them $2, and a cow costs them, $500, whatever. So his bird. So you shouldn't feel bad. So therefore it says, you should sacrifice the same language it uses for sacrificing a cow or a sheep or a goat. It uses the same thing to show that the poor person is also adorning the altar, just like the rich person. Lo yavdil eino maparko lagamri. He doesn't tear the bird into two parts, but he tears it migabo. So not from the front. He tears the back of the bird, like from the spine. And therefore it says, but that's what it means. It says by a bird, reach nichoach. It's a pleasing spirit to God. It says by an animal, reach nichoach, to tell you it's the same thing whether you give a lot or whether you give a little. The main thing is if your heart is to God. That is the offering of the Olah Ta'of. There's also called Chatat Ta'of, and Chatat Ta'of is different in a lot of ways. First of all, it's not slaughtered from the back. It's forbidden to cut the head off. it has to be slaughtered only one of the two simanim, either the windpipe or the food pipe. It's not talked about here. Only one of them has to be. Not only that, part of it is eaten. It's eaten by the Kohanim. They eat it. Of course, they have to prepare it. They roast it or whatever. They eat it, and it's eaten. And also, it's slaughtered on the other side of the altar, the opposite side of the altar. And another thing is that its blood is sprinkled on the altar. It's not squeezed like over here. Okay, that's the offering of the oath of the bird. God willing, tomorrow we'll continue. Maybe tomorrow we'll learn the laws of the offering, the meal offering. We'll see. We'll see what we do. Have a good day with Mashiach. Now, hopefully there will be the third temple. And when they bring bird offerings, you'll be able to say you understand what's going on.